My favorite Jim Rohn quote is speed increases focus. The more you move in the direction of your vision and your dream and your goal that God's put in your heart, the clearer the picture is going to become. And you'll go, I need to add this, or I need to tweak this, or this didn't work. I got to find a better way to do that. There were days I wasn't sure, but out of that, I developed a concept that I call incremental, not monumental. It's small, daily disciplined decisions over time always equal monumental results. Success cannot escape you when you do the right things every single day.
Today on the podcast, I'm super pumped up to have Ken Joslin. He recently moved to Atlanta and he hosts events with John Maxwell, Gary Brecka. He's friends with my buddy Nate May. He's dabbled in real estate, done, I think, $250 million in sales there. Very passionate about leadership, business, mentoring men. So without further ado, welcome to the program, Ken.
What's up, my friend? How you doing, bro? Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to come and hang out with you and your audience. I don't take that lightly. Looking forward to having an amazing conversation and adding as much value as we can today, man.
Before we start talking business, I want to hear how in the world you like that team up north, the Michigan Wolverines. So
let me give you, so we did win a natty last year. It was funny because I was going to fly up about 4 weeks ago to go watch them play Texas, but I had this little feeling in my gut. I'm like, and I didn't go. I went to Vancouver instead and did some business stuff, and we got trashed by Texas. We totally got annihilated. But, dude, it's great to be a Michigan Wolverine, baby. Dude, what a game in the Final Four last year against Alabama. The national championship, we just roasted them. That game against Alabama, bro, because I ain't going to lie, I lived in Alabama for 5 years. Born and raised in Detroit till I was halfway through school, and then back in the Gainesville, Georgia area. So lived here in the Atlanta area for about 30, 35 years. So.
Okay, so I got it straight. You were born in Detroit, or Michigan fan, moved down to Gainesville, Georgia, and then eventually you were in Birmingham, Alabama, and then back to Alpharetta?
Correct. Yeah, we were in Birmingham for 5 years, and I just moved back to Alpharetta about 4 weeks. Four months ago. This is where I host my conference. I host the #1 faith-based entrepreneur conference in the country. About 500 or 600 crazy faith-based entrepreneurs with good friends of mine like John Maxwell. You mentioned Gary Brecka, Ed Mylett, Brendan Burchard, Erwin McManus, just a bunch of amazing friends. We gathered for 3 days to really focus on becoming the best version of ourselves and what we call our core 5, which is faith, health, relationship, business, and finances.
That is a star-studded lineup, Ken. So that was your lineup last year. John, you had all them on the same ticket?
No. That's just over the past 3 years. So John's been with me almost every year. Brendan, Ed Mylett I had Ed Mylett and John last year or year before last. Brendan Burchard, I've had Brendan in. Gary's been at every event that I've done live for the last probably close to 4 years. I mean, even before anybody even knew who he was, he's been at my small events all the way up to Create, which is our large conference we do in Atlanta.
How did you originally get connected with Gary Brecka?
Yeah, so I got connected with Grant Cardone in September, or actually October of 2019. I actually saw an ad for Grant and clicked on an ad, started down the rabbit trail, the wormhole from Alice in Wonderland, if you will, and wound up becoming one of Grant's first licensees when I first started what I'm doing now. And then that was in 2019. So 2020, in May of 2020, I was with some friends that were going over to Gary Brecka's house. Gary had just started working with Grant, went over to Gary and Sage's place at the Porsche Design Tower and got an IV. It was one of my first IVs that I'd ever gotten. And that's how I got connected with Gary then. And he spoke at almost every event that I've had for the past.
What was in the IV?
We did a Myers cocktail, just a Myers cocktail. Then I've done NAD plus with Gary. I've done all game changer for me. His methylation test where they do the 5 actionable gene markers, which is why when you come to my conference, like there's no pitch. Like all the speakers, they don't pitch anything. It's the only thing we talk about is our mastermind and collective. And then I let Gary put his QR code up for the methylation test, because that methylation test for me changed my life. That would have been April of 2021. So complete game changer for me. I took that, realized that my MTHFR genetic had a gene break in that on both sides, which means I can't process folic acid. I don't know how much health stuff you guys go into on here. Folic acid, we're the only country in the world that puts folic acid on stuff. It's outlawed in 20 or 30 countries. And so if you have that gene deficiency or that gene break, which 42% of people do, you cannot process folic acid. It's the number one cause of ADD and anxiousness, and which was where I was at, dude. I mean, my brain never shut down, and it's because I had that gene mutation. And so once I started taking methylated methylfolate, then, I mean, literally within 24 hours, my mind just came down to level an even keel. And that was because of Gary.
Wow. Now you say Myers cocktail. For somebody who doesn't know, we're talking about IV and Myers
Yeah,
cocktail.
we're talking about IVs. Yeah. Myers cocktail is just, I think it's the maximum amount of dosage you can do where all your vitamins and minerals and all the stuff. I mean, it literally is like when you get a Myers cocktail is what they call it. It's a huge bag of IVs. So it hydrates you, and it gives you the whole suite of vitamins, and it gives you all the minerals that you have to have in your body. It's like a supercharged power boost on Nintendo back in the day.
And do you feel instantly better or better the next day, or you don't feel anything at all? How do you feel?
No, it's within 30 minutes, you can tell. And they also call that, like, it's funny because those places are all over the country now. I'm actually part of Restore Hyper Wellness. My good friend Josh in the Tennessee area has 4 Optimize You franchises. And so there's a lot of people will do that. They stay out all night long, so I got sick. I got sick in Salt Lake City. Gary and I spoke at back-to-back mastermind. So I was there for a week and a half. I got sick on Tuesday. I got either a bug or food poisoning. I went on Wednesday and Thursday to get an IV so I could stay hydrated because I was sick. So there's a lot of great benefits to you when you get IVs.
Yeah, that's really good, Ken. They're right by where you live off exit 14 and Cumming. I was going to a place called the Genesis Center, and they gave me the I think it's called NAD.
Yeah, NAD plus. I've done that with Gary several times.
And then I get the regular IV with all the vitamins and everything like that. So it's definitely good. Well, I want to hear your business journey. At what point, because you said you didn't connect with Grant Cardone until recently. What were you doing before that?
So out of the past 25 years, I've been in full-time vocational ministry. Half of that time, which means I planted and pastored churches. And so the other half of that time, I was a top producing mortgage broker in the Atlanta area from about 2001 to about 2008 when the housing market crashed. I was one of the top brokers for Countrywide and SunTrust 4 years in a row on the wholesale side. And then back into full-time vocational ministry in about 08, 09 until about 2016, 17. And then back into real estate, not this time, not as a mortgage guy or a broker, just in the real estate. And then in 2019, I finished 7th out of 3,725 agents in one of the fastest growing brokerages in the state of Georgia. And I ran into Grant literally at the end of 2019. And I started this right when COVID started. We started our online community. And since then, we've grown our online community to online courses, to our mastermind, and then our Create conference that we do every year for faith-based entrepreneurs. And we've grown this, dude. In the third year, we did over $1 million in revenue. And it's just been an amazing ride, dude. And we see tons of transformation from faith-based entrepreneurs when we get them locked in and focused on becoming the best version of themselves in their faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. And we just give them structure and framework to be able to do that in pretty much their everyday life.
And what was the move to Birmingham and then back to Alpharetta? What was all that all about?
Yeah, so the move to Birmingham, I've got 4 daughters, 28, 25, 21, and 16. A 25-year-old, when she was 17, 18, she had her first seizure. It was her first day of her senior year of high school. So we got her tested out, and they said, hey, listen, 75% of kids that have seizures as teenagers never have another one. So no driving for 6 months. She started driving again in February of her senior year. She graduated. We moved her to Birmingham for Highlands College, which is one of the top ministry placement schools. It's almost like an academy, like Air Force Academy or West Point or the Naval Academy for kids who want to do ministry work. It's a phenomenal leadership academy. And so we sent her over there. And then the next February, a year and a half after she had her first seizure, she had a second one. And so we had to she finished the school year that year. We pulled her out of school the next fall semester. That gave us time to move from the Atlanta area. I was in Flowery Branch, right, literally close to the Falcons headquarters, over to Birmingham. And so I was there 5.5 years until she's been seizure free now for about 5 years. So she's doing great. So that was the reason that we made the move to Birmingham, and the reason I got back into real estate.
Oh, wow. Super cool.
Yeah.
My buddy lives in Trussville, Alabama, and we're doing an event in February in Springville, Alabama. It's a real little small town.
Yep.
But it's
I know where it's at. I know exactly where it's at. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had some friends in Springville that lived in that big D.R. Horton subdivision. Springville's probably 10 minutes past Trussville on 59 going I guess towards Chattanooga.
Our event's at Matthews Manor. My friend owns Matthews Manors out there. So we got a free venue. But I'm curious. So you have this Epic Create event with Gary Brecka and Ed Milet and John Maxwell. I'm sure year one you had humble beginnings. Can you kind of walk us through how each year's gotten better? And
it's the entrepreneurial journey, right? Isn't it the entrepreneurial journey? I mean, the very first conference we ever did, and I'll give you a little backdrop. And so all of you entrepreneurs, man, this is so huge for you to understand. So I'm like, I'm going to do a big conference. I want John Maxwell. So in 2020, when I started this, I was going to do a conference May the 19th and 20th in Atlanta with John, with my good friend David Pollock, who used to be on College Game Day. He's probably the best Georgia football player, defensive ever in the history of Georgia, 3-time All-American. Davey's been a good friend of mine for about 15 years. So I'm going to do this conference. Well, then COVID hits. There's no conference. Like COVID shut the world down. So I started our online community. And then from there, we grew it. And so I'd say this to every entrepreneur out there. Listen, my favorite Jim Rohn quote is speed increases focus. The more you move in the direction of your vision and your dream and your goal that God's put in your heart, the clearer the picture is going to become. And you'll go, I need to add this, or I need to tweak this, or this didn't work. I got to find a better way to do that. And so after we've been going, I did the first conference in January of 2022. So we're going on 4 years. This is going to be our 4th year in a row in Atlanta. And in the spring, about this time, it literally was the end of September, 1st of October, I said, I'm going to get John Maxwell again. John's going to come speak at my conference. So I called my good friend Chad Johnson, who worked with my best friend Nate May, who's our mutual friend, who used to work with John when Nate was there. And I said, hey, Chad, listen, I want to get John in. Here's what I want to do. Boom, boom, boom. How much? And Chad goes, $85,000. And I said, do I get a brother-in-law discount and a friend discount? And he goes, that is the discount. Like normally that would be about $120 for you, because I had John Thursday night. We did a fundraising dinner for Hugh Jackson, former NFL head coach, who's a friend of mine, and David Pollock. And then John came back the next day on Friday and opened the conference for me. And so he said $85,000. I said, send the contract over. We're in. And I picked up the phone and I FaceTimed Nate. Dude, you'll get a kick out of this. I called Nate and I said, hey, Chad said to tell you hello. Nate goes, how much? I said, how much what? He goes, how much is John? What's it going to cost you? I said, $85,000. And Nate goes, what did you tell him? I said, send the contract over to me. I'll sign it today and get it back to you. Nate goes, how are you going to pay for it? I said, I have no idea, but I know this is what we're supposed to do. So I signed the contract. And then literally 3-4 months before that, and I had Jesse Itzler at that event too, which was 35 or 40K. 3 or 4 months before that, had no idea how I was going to do it. And out of that, I developed our speaker partnership, which we do every year. I get 3 to 4 younger communicators or newer communicators on the scene who would never have an opportunity to get on a platform like I have and like I've created. And you get promoted with John and Jesse Itzler and Brendan Bouchard and Ed Milet and Gary Brecka and all the guys, right? And what we did was we did an exchange of, we'll give you these things in a 20-minute, 25-minute keynote in exchange for $35,000 worth of tickets to my conference. And so they basically helped me fill the room. And so as I created that to be able to pay John's $85,000, I think Jesse at the time, Jesse Itzler was 35 or 40 or something like that. That's how I did it. But I took the step and said, you know what? We're going to do this. And so my talk that day at Create, Paul, you'll get a kick out of this. John gets up and he speaks and just really honors me. I've known John for a long time. He just honored me. And was like, man, Ken, this is amazing that you just started this here in Atlanta and what the work that you're doing. And then I get up to speak and I just said, hey, listen, I want to give you guys a view behind the curtain, because you see the band, you see the lights, you see John Maxwell and David Pollock and Jesse Itzler. You see all the stuff that we're doing here. But what you didn't see was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'd wake up at 2:30 in the morning with 15 grand left in my checking account, because these events cost me 250 to 300 grand to pull off. What you didn't see was 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was up every night at 2, 3 in the morning going, do I have what it takes to pull this off? Can I make this? Can I really make this happen? Or am I going to make a giant fool out of myself? And dude, the whole atmosphere in the room, Paul, changed, because people were like, well, this isn't what you hear at an entrepreneur conference. Somebody being authentic and telling you, hey, listen, man, there were days I wasn't sure. But out of that, I developed a concept that I call incremental, not monumental. It's small, daily disciplined decisions over time always equal monumental results. Success cannot escape you when you do the right things every single day. So, dude, I just was like, I'm going to double down on that and be consistent. I'm going to double down on my morning routine, my work routine, my evening. I'm going to double down on the things I know that I need to do that are going to pay long-term results. And dude, here we are 4 years later, and we have the largest faith-based entrepreneur conference in the country. Dude, it's crazy.
Wow, that is quite the story, Ken. So what's the plan for the upcoming one? You have dates and speakers and any information on the next one?
Yeah, so we're going to be in Atlanta January 30th, 31st, and February the 1st. Actually, here in Alpharetta. I've got John Maxwell locked in already. Gary Brecka's locked in. My good friends Dennis and Colleen Rouse, who were the planting and founding pastors for Victory Church in Norcross. They have about 15, 20,000 people over several campuses, and one of the true multicultural campuses or churches in the Atlanta area. My good friend Mayo Sowell, who played football at Auburn, he's the pastor at Live Church where I go. Super good friend of mine. So we've got them coming in. I've got one of the top worship collectives in the country coming in to be a part of that. And we'll spend 2.5 to 3 days literally going after how we can become the best version in our faith, health, relationships, business, and finances. And in each of those areas, I bring in friends of mine who are the best of the best in the entire world in that area. Obviously, Gary Brecka with health, he's the number one guy in the world right now, top podcast, a health and wellness podcast in the world. And Gary I think he's coming in. Sage, his wife, is going to do about a 25-minute talk on the methylation test that I shared about earlier. And then Gary's going to do 2 back-to-back 50-minute sessions with Q&A. It's just going to be an unbelievable. So at the end of each of those core 5 areas, we do what I call 46:10 moments. And Paul, you may say, where does that come from? Well, that comes from Psalms 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. And dude, every year I get there and I'm like, how many of you entrepreneurs love to be still? And they look at you like, what are you talking about? I don't know how to be still. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, God, I don't have time to be still. And I said, what we're going to do at the end of each of these core 5 areas is we're going to be still. We're going to hear God, and we're going to write the vision down. And as you write that vision down for what this year is going to look like. So in January, we'll be writing down, what does 2025 look like for you in each of these core 5 areas? And then at the end of everything, we'll teach them how to set what I call next 60 goals, which is what can I do in 60 days with focused, intense effort. And I'm telling you, when you get several hundred people that you're getting to do that with a community and a collective of faith-based entrepreneurs that I have from all over the country, it's a game changer, because you've got accountability, you've got encouragement, you've got this massive group of people who are all moving in the same direction with the same goals, the same passions. And I'm telling you, man, the synergy in that, dude, is unbelievable.
That is so good. I like that net 60 goals, Ken. Can you explain a little bit more of how you
it's next, N-E-X-T. So what am I going to do over the next 60 days? And I actually learned that from a friend of mine, Troy Hoffman, who's a big investor and founder and invests in a lot of companies. Troy actually came down to my Puerto Rico mastermind and did he did an afternoon session for a few hours. And what he does with his teams is he does it next 90. Like, what are we going after for the next 90 days, 3 months, quarter, basically, if you will. And so I shortened that up with my group to go, okay, what are we going after in our next 60 days? 60 days is a good runway and a good opportunity for people to be focused and really go after some amazing, amazing goals. And I'm telling you, every time we do it, we have people exceed the goals that they set, Paul, that when they set them, they were like, I'm not 100% sure I can do this because this is a huge, huge goal. And we just consistently see people do things that they didn't even know were possible, which is amazing, dude.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Yesterday, you had a little pie chart on your board behind you of, I think, your core 5.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, there it is. Can you?
There it is, man.
Be a little bit more in depth. You mentioned them earlier, real fast and rapid fire, but can you break them down a little bit more? And
So listen, you're an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur. I built a mortgage company. I've been successful in real estate. I've done a lot of stuff, right? But we've all seen the entrepreneur who neglects his faith, his health, and his relationships to literally focusing on building business and then building revenue and wealth. And what happens, I say this all the time, one of two things always happens when you have an entrepreneur that does that. Number one, pardon my French, they're an asshole. Nobody wants to spend time with them because they're transactional and not relational. And it's all about the business. It's all about themselves. It's all about them gaining wealth and money so they can do what they want to do to be able to satisfy themselves. The second person, or the second thing that happens every time is, if that faith, health, and relationships aren't in alignment, the foundation of your life is so shaky that your life ends up falling apart and you eventually lose your business and you lose all the finances that you made. But when you make a focused, intentional effort to say, you know what, God, I want to become the best version of myself in my faith. I want to become the best version of myself in my health. And I want to become the best version of myself in my relationships. Paul, when you build a foundation of those three things, listen, man, there's no business. There's no amount of wealth or finances you can't build on top of that, because you can grow that huge. Why? Because you focused on building the foundation, and your faith, health, and relationships is the foundation of everything else you build in your life when it comes to entrepreneurship.
That's so good. Well, Ken, what else you guys got going on, and how can my audience connect with you?
Yeah, dude, listen, we're actually going to do a free masterclass October the 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Would love for you guys to join it. Some of the stuff that I've talked about, I'm going to get on there and I'm going to talk about, hey, here's our planner that we created. How do I plan out my day? What does a morning routine look like? Listen, I have dozens of these planners stacked in my office. Literally every single day, my morning routine. I'm going to walk you through my morning routine. How have I done what I've done? Paul, I've lost almost 100 pounds. Wow. And so that's been a journey. And Gary's been the number one guy in that journey with me over the past 4 to 4.5 years. But I'm going to walk you through, how do I do a morning routine? What does that look like? I'm going to teach you how I do every morning when I wake up. My routine is so solid. It's funny. My good friend Josh, who owns those Optimize You franchises, was in Atlanta because he's about to do one here in Roswell last week. And I was taking him on a tour. I live in a 3-story brand new townhome here in Alpharetta. We were walking up, from my main level to my level where my master bedroom is. And I looked over at my chair. I have a chair and an ottoman in the corner. And I said, Josh, what's that sitting in my chair? He just started laughing. He goes, dude, it's your workout clothes for tomorrow.
Wow.
Because I tell people all the time, when you lock in your evening routine and your morning routine and you get your daily routine down and you'll stick with it and go into that incremental, not monumental mindset and that incremental, not monumental mode every single day, I'm going to be consistent. Small daily discipline decisions over time always equal monumental results. Success cannot escape you. I'm telling you guys, if you'll just be consistent. So every day I tell people, listen, before I go to bed, my clothes are sitting in my chair. my gym clothes for the next morning. Then it's not an option if I'm going to work out because I've already got my gym clothes, my pre-workouts mixed in my refrigerator. I literally open the refrigerator. I grab my shaker bottle out. I put a big ice cube in it. I shake it up and I go right back upstairs. I get on my Peloton or I head to Planet Fitness or Lifetime or F45 or Orange Theory, whatever I'm doing that day. It's non-negotiable. But Josh laughed because he was like, dude, your clothes are literally sitting in your chair like I've heard you say a million times. So my whole morning routine, I'm going to walk you through how I do that. I'm going to walk you through how I do goals, gratitude, affirmations, and top 3 every single morning. And dude, this is something I learned from Grant 5 years ago when he said, write your goals down twice a day, every single day. And I'm like, dude, that's a lot, man. I mean, I'm a driven dude. I built some great businesses. But this is what he said. He goes, listen, if you write your goals down twice a day, every day, he goes, that's even if you only hit it 300 days a year. Let's say you miss 56 days. That's 600 times I write my goals down. And Grant goes, how many people in the room? There's 500 or 600 at this boot camp in Miami. How many of you guys write your goals down, at the beginning of the year? Boom. 90% of the hands go up. Then he said, how many of you guys write your goals down once a month? 90% of that crowd, their hands go down. How many of you write your goals down once a week? And there may have been 2 people, 3 people out of several hundred. And he goes, if I write my goals down 600 times a year and we're in the same business, I'm going to dominate you. You cannot beat me because I am so focused. I love Zig Ziglar's quote. If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every single time. I'm going to teach you how to set goals. I'm going to teach you what does it look like to go after. I have 2 separate goals in my list. I've got business goals and personal goals for Ken. I'm going to teach you what does it look like to set business goals that you can accomplish and then reverse engineer that to set a morning and daily routine so you can achieve amazing things. One of my great pastor friends, Rick Warren, said this probably 15, 20 years ago. I heard this, Paul. He said, we tend to overestimate what we can do in the short term, but we tend to underestimate what we can do in the long term. And here we are 5 years into doing what we're doing. And we're on the verge this next year to do multiple 7 figures in revenue. 3, 4, 5. My goal, I want us to get to 5 million next year in our 5th year of existence as a coaching and consulting organization for faith-based entrepreneurs. Dude, it's an unbelievable journey. And I'm telling you guys, listen, we're doing this webinar October 17th. You can get a link from Paul. Click on that, register. I'd love to be no cost whatsoever. It's just going to be 90 minutes of me adding this kind of value to you. What does that look like? Giving you framework so you can put this in your life. How do I become the best in my core 5? In my faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. I'm going to walk you through all of that. And I promise you, when you leave that night, you will have an unbelievable plan in your life for the next 60 days.
So good. And lastly, your Instagram, you're crushing it over there, Ken. What's your Instagram handle and how can people follow you on IG?
Yeah, Instagram is at Ken Joslin. Listen, I drop videos. I drop quotes every day. All of our podcasts, which I just had Paul on the podcast this week. You can go on there. You can click on the podcast. I mean, I've had everybody on my podcast. You name it, from Sharon Lecter, co-author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to Brad Lee, to Grant Cardone, to John Maxwell, to David Pollock. I mean, all kinds of different people on the podcast. And we literally talk about faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. But Instagram's a great place to connect with me.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate your time, Ken. You got me all fired up. I'm about to go to the gym here right after this. I didn't work out today, and you had me convicted. But I never thought about the evening routine because in the Jewish mindset, their day starts at sundown. So when the sun sets, their calendar is like the beginning of the day. And so laying out your gym clothes, that's genius. I'm going to start implementing that. So
dude,
thank you.
You should have seen Josh laugh at me when he saw it. He was like, I said, what's sitting in that chair, Josh? He goes, he just busted out. He goes, dude, there's your gym clothes. He's heard me talk about it for a year. Like they're laying there every single day. And it's when you prepare, let me say this really quick before everybody gets one. I'm going to talk about this on the masterclass that we're doing on October 17th as well. If you need an alarm clock to get out of bed, your goals are not big enough.
Wow.
It literally is a quote that I use all the time. If you need an alarm clock to get out of bed, your goals aren't big enough. And people are like, Ken, what does that mean? Listen, every single freaking day I get drove out of bed, not because I'm excited to live the day, but because I'm excited about what God's called me to do and the people I get to spend time with and the transformation I get to see in faith-based entrepreneurs' lives. It's unbelievable. But my work day does not start when my alarm clock goes off. My work day starts the night before. Last night, my whole day timer is filled out. Every Sunday night, I go in and I fill out my calendar for the week, my day timer, every appointment that I have. And then the night before each morning, I go in and I fill that day. So when I get up for that day, Paul, I know exactly what I'm going for. Listen, if you wake up in the morning going, oh, that was great, I slept good. Okay, now what do I need to do? Nope. Man, when I wake up, I know what time I'm going to be in the gym. I know what time my calls are. I knew what time this call was with Paul today. Every single day. Listen, I will teach you how to squeeze every ounce of potential out of each day, because here's why. Paul, if you spend more money, what can you do?
I don't know.
Make more money. I can go make money. Making money is not. If I spend time with you, Paul, can I go get that time back?
No,
you cannot. When I spend money, I can make more money. But when I spend my time, it's gone forever. I cannot go back in. Time is the most precious commodity that you have. I'm going to spend time during this masterclass going, dude, here's how you squeeze every ounce of potential. I've said this a million times. I'm not the most talented. I'm not the best looking. I was never the most athletic, but you will not outwork me. You will not be more consistent than me. You will not be more disciplined in becoming the best version of myself that I know God's called me to do. And so I love being able to take hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs through this journey and just watch the transformation in their life, which always equals to great transformation in their business and in their finances.
Well, thank you so much, Ken. I am two implementations I'm personally doing from this interview, guys, is I'm going to get that Myers cocktail.
Come on.
Order one of them. They have an IV place here in Sarasota where I live now. And I'm going to start laying my gym clothes out the night before. And you provided so many nuggets in this episode. Yeah. So I appreciate it, guys. Go follow him on Instagram at Ken Joslin. That's the handle.
Yep, at Ken Joslin, KenJoslin. Can't miss me. I'm the sexy bald-headed looking guy.
Cool. And then this free mastermind is on
October 17th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. So there'll be a link in the podcast for them to be able to connect. It's going to be, listen, bring your team, not just you, bring your entire team. Bring a notebook and bring a pen and get ready to learn, how do I take control of my day? What does that look like? And it's going to be an amazing time as we talk about how we grow in our core 5 areas.
Awesome. Thanks so